All right, so the rest of these problems I'm going to run through fairly quickly because I explained the process I'm going to use with the if-then tables. So if it seems like that I'm not making sense on what I'm doing, review the first word problem video, and it kind of explains what I'm doing. Okay, so here we go. Small business. A plumber charges $32 per job plus $18 per hour. If the total bill for a job was $95, how many hours did the plumber work? Okay, so I'm going to create an if-then table. So in this case, we have hours and then the bill for the job. And so if he works 0 hours, the bill for the job is going to be $32. And a lot of kids get thrown off on that because they think, well, if he works 0 hours, then he's going to not bill anything. It's going to be $0 for the bill. Well, you have to think about this, and this is a lot. This is very much like real world situation. Lots of times they charge you just to come out to your house, and that's what's happening here. Is he's charging $32 just to come out there, whether he works or not. So now, whenever he works 1 hour, he charges $32 to show up, and then $18 for the hour he worked. So 32 plus 18 is going to be 50. And then if he was going to work another hour, well, then it would be 50 plus another $18, and that'll bring you up to 68. I want to point out that he's not charging the $32 again because he's only showing up the one time, the one job, okay? And so then he's going to just add 18 from there. So I could keep going until finally I reach where he charges, or he's got the bill for $95, and then look up and see whatever number of hours he worked was. Okay, but it would take me forever to do all this stuff, and well, most of the time, I guess this particular incident it won't. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to create an equation. So the difference between here and here is 1, and from there is 1. What I'm doing is I'm checking to see what my slope is. In this case, it increased 18, and this increased 18. So my slope equals m equals 18 when y changed by 18, x changed by 1, which simplifies to just 18. My y-intercept, I'm looking for when x is 0. I'm going to see what the y value is. In this case, it is 32, a positive 32. Therefore, my equation is going to be y equals 18x plus 32. I can use this equation to solve for any kind of scenario that we're going to try to make up using this word problem. In this case, we're wanting to know when the bill is $95. Okay? So I'm going to put 95 in for my y value. See how 95 represents my bill, which is my y value? So it's going to go right here. So when I rewrite my equation, it's going to be 95 equals 18x plus 32. And then I would just solve this like a 7th grader would. I would subtract 32 from both sides. And 5 minus 4 is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. Equals 18x. I would divide this side by 18. Divide this side by 18. And you as a parent, you can use a calculator to check your kid, but your kid should be doing this because they're going to have to actually divide it out like on the CRCT. So 18 will go into 62. They're going to have to do some guessing and checking. They might say, oh, well, maybe it's 2. And they say 2 times 8 is 16. Carry your 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. And so this right here looks like it could be a little low. And so they might say, oh, well, it's too low. So I'm going to try a higher number, 3. 3 times 8 is 24. Carry your 2. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 2 is 5. That looks a little closer, doesn't it? And this is what I found out, that the kids, your kids need practice with subtracting and borrowing. I was actually kind of surprised. But that's okay. I think they're getting too dependent on a calculator. You have to borrow from the 6 in order to make this a 12. And then 12 minus 4 is going to be 8. 5 minus 5 is nothing. So what I'm left with is 3 and 8/18. I'm going to just leave it as a fraction. You could put it as a decimal. It'd be 3 point. It's close to 3.5. It's not quite 3.5. So in this case, x equals 3 and 8/18 of an hour. So 3 and 3/18 hours. So that is the correct answer, and that's number 2. Let me explain what this means. It means that if he works 3 and 8/18 of an hour, then he will bill them $95. So that would go right here. 3 and 8/18 hours. Okay.